So I went through the whole Dark Portal opening event and Kazakh running through and destroying shit with his 2 Corehound ads and all that fun stuff for the BC opening event. I then leveled fairly quickly from 60 to 70. I remember even though I had pre-ordered BC, I didn't actually get it until around 3 days after release, so I was a little behind the curve, but it was okay. I was guildless at the time, seeing as Perpetual Affinity had pretty much died. Well, at least the rating part of it did. The GM got hacked and a bunch of other bullshit. Anyway, after hitting level 70, I was still feral, and I got into a guild by the name of Harbingers of Sorrow, co-led by an old friend of mine from PA named Gazmo, or Gazimo, however he pronounces it. He now played a priest by the name of Madixoza, and I hated that guy at the time. Now, it wasn't a very big guild, and we were just starting out in Kara, and I think at least 2 months went by before we even had him in the Huntsman down, the first boss of Kara. But god, this guy like threw my soul in a paper shredder on a nightly basis. He had to use me as a tank because, like I said, we were a small guild and we were short on tanks specifically. Now in BC, Pharaohs were much more accepted as viable tanks, with Mangle and Lacerate and all that fun stuff like that. But every time we would wipe, he would just, tear me a new asshole. Like even if it wasn't my fault, he'd be like, Nolly, why are you dying so easily? When I have fucking crazy amounts of health at the time. Why are you missing so much? Get more hit rating, because of the curse that Adaman does that reduces your chance to hit by like 50% or something. The guy would just like I said, he was just a fucking asshole to me. But it's okay though, I got my revenge recently. He started playing again and he got his priest up to 80, and every time he asked me to tank something, I just give him the whole, oh, you wouldn't want a bad old tank, like me tanking now, would you? Anyway, him and I are good friends now, but that's besides the point. I eventually left that guild and joined Thorian Nights. I was with them all the way through Karazhan, all the way through Gull's Lair, all the way through all Tier 4 content, excluding Magtheridon, because at the time he was still bugged and incredibly hard. I got in when, we were just barely poking our heads into Tier 5 content. We'd gotten Void Reaver down to like 3%, and we had, the Lurker down. Until, unfortunately, the guild had a huge blow-up where all of the officers left at the very first day, January 1st of 2008. I logged in and, they were all, like, all the officers were gone and all that good stuff. However, I made a very rapid improvement as a tank while I was in Thorian Nights, because there was another bear, and that was the first time I had ever, raided with another bear. His name was Gandalf. And god, that guy was fucking cool. I used to see him, they used to use him to tank High King Mulgar and stuff, and I remember, feeling so psyched that there was actually another bear who was being used as a tank in not only raids, but 25-man raids, and I'm not gonna lie, he was damn good too. And he taught me a lot as a tank to this day. He taught me the general rotation priority, what stats to look for and why, etc. I don't see him online much these days, but I make sure to greet him with a hello or something on the rare occasions that he does log in. Now, it was really rough on me guild-wise. After Thorian Nights, I had to go through a ton of guilds before I eventually landed on one that I enjoyed. I remember I went through Doom, Mythica, and Mythica were and still pretty much are good people. I say pretty much because after some recent drama that went down on the server, I have reason to believe differently about some of the members, who I will leave unnamed out of respect. Even though the guild itself pretty much died, I was in Fallen Angels, and I was in a bunch of small guilds that I probably can't recall. Before I eventually ended up an Invalid Target. I was an Invalid Target through starting Tier 5 content all the way into Sunwell, until just about the release of Lich King. I ended up leaving because I found that I was being sat for more raids than I was being used in. But I'm still good friends with many of the members, and that was the first guild that launched me into hardcore, 4 or 5 nights a week raiding. Well, Wrath of the Lich King comes out, and I was guildless from 70 to 80 by personal preference. I still leveled with a close friend of mine named Miss Tish, but again, I stayed guildless that way so that I wouldn't get caught up in other stuff on the way to 80. So I made it to 80 by around the beginning of December, which is fairly fast, seeing as servers were lagging and questing areas were flooded with people. As soon as I hit 80, I joined a guild that had been planning to invite me by the name of Blade Renewal. I'll never make that mistake again, though. Long story short, it was just a bunch of little annoying, obnoxious kids. I left within 24 hours of my invite. I then got into Aegis, which I was in for a very long time. However, the name eventually became my name eventually became a verb in the guild. I woke up in the morning to find that I was kicked from the guild for no particular reason. I'm still unsure as to why, but the new GM that took over after I was kicked laid down that nobody, this is a quote, nobody shall get nollied. That meaning that nobody will just randomly get G-kicked without explanation. That guild was reborn through the new GM, and I was reinvited as main tank and raid leader. And we were pretty solid until a few months into Old War. That's around the time that Aegis died as a raiding guild and I moved on to Axis. There's still one active member of Aegis that just refused us to leave, which is pretty sad. I feel bad for him. Now, I was with Axis all the way through Old War, and partially through TOGC, and I've never felt more uncomfortable in a guild. However, I will say that raiding was awesome. The DKP and everything regarding the game itself was great, and I will always stand by when I say that most of the members in that guild were, and most who are still around, are awesome players. However, they're fucking assholes, just to be blatant. If you refuse to be a part of their, clique, then you'll eventually be scapegoated out, which is sad, but to each their own, I suppose. I mean, they're still around. In fact, I believe they got server 2nd or 3rd on Putricide last week or 2 weeks ago. But again, it's just a whole group of stuck-up assholes. After Axis, I got into Celestial Vanguard. That was a really good time for me in CV. CV is one of the oldest guilds on the server, and I was really excited that I got to raid with them. And because a lot of them were a bunch of old PA members, because, the guild's just as old. But I personally left at the end of my trial period due to the fact that I was unhappy with my position in the guild. They wanted me to go kitty main spec, and I simply refused. But I really wish them the best of luck, because they really are an awesome group of people. Well, I'm now in an ancient guild on the server by the name of Inner Focus, and I've been here since November, and I really enjoy it. I really feel like I'm going to be here for a long, long time. The officers and GM are great people. We get shit done in a timely manner. We raid 3 days a week, 5 days for me, seeing as I'm in one of the 10-man groups, and everything is great. I really couldn't ask for a better guild. The DKP system is solid. I'm a full-time raider and tank in the guild, and it's just a great time. So there's my story of this wonderful, beautiful world that I've come to love. It's crazy to know that I started playing this game when I was 11 years old, and I'm turning 17 this year. Honestly, I don't regret any of it at all. I feel that I owe every bit of the person who I am today, at least intellectually, to this game. I don't hang out with people my age who don't shut the fuck up about the fact that, oh my god, Charlie kissed Tiffany, so Sarah broke up with him, and she cheated on him with Steven. 90% of all my friends are 25 years and older, and I've grown with these people. It takes a certain kind of person to play this game at the level that we do, and that's sort of an inevitable filter that we find each other in. Hence why I feel that it is so much easier to connect with people on a social level in this game and through this game, because we choose to be here, and we build off of that. And honestly, I feel more connected and comfortable with the people that I've met in this game than I have anywhere else in my entire life.